And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you as always.
Bob, pleasure to be with you.
So almost 2 years after the two bombs went off in Boston, now we have a trial. The only trial we're going to see, presumably, from the Boston Marathon bombings. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev on trial. What's at stake here? It seems like we already know what we need to know about this.
Well, a couple of things. One, it's the ability of the U.S. government to use the federal criminal system to hold terrorists in the homeland to account. I mean, there's been a long-standing debate in the U.S. post 9/11 as to whether or not the federal system is the right venue for these kinds of trials. There's no question. I think you have an incident in the homeland, you get your hands on somebody like this, you try them in a
Can't send this guy to Guantanamo.
Right. He's not going to a military commission, et cetera. But the ability to use the system effectively and well, and to hold him publicly accountable for the attack is important. It's also an issue of closure, obviously, for the victims and families, and for Boston itself. You know, the trial has not been shifted somewhere else. This is going to happen in Boston.
So the United States, it seems, and I'm not a lawyer, it seems like there's a pretty strong case. There's surveillance video of the two Tsarnaev brothers. There are pictures of Dzhokhar Tsarnaev with the backpack. There's the explosion. I mean, from a prosecution standpoint, this looks to be fairly easy. So why is there a trial? Why wasn't a deal done here?
Well, you know, going to trial is rolling the dice. You've got 12 jurors, one of whom may see the evidence differently, may decide that the government didn't prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. I mean, that's the nature of the system.
On the other side, though, I mean, if you're Tsarnaev's defense team, you have to worry. I mean, this guy's probably going to prison, but at least he's alive.
Well, and the big question from a tactical standpoint is he going to face the death penalty? Because that's really the problem. And in most cases where you have the death penalty at play, what is negotiated away is that penalty. And so there's either cooperation or other types of activities, and you get to a plea deal where the government doesn't have to take the risk of a trial, doesn't have to go through the expense and all of this.
And the public doesn't have to relive
the whole thing. Yeah. The defendant admits to what is fairly obvious given the evidence, but doesn't subject himself or herself to the death penalty. We still may see that. Often in cases, what you do is you go through the initial motions, both sides are feeling themselves out, maybe working a plea deal behind the scenes and get to that point.
Taking this case to trial brings it all back to the fore. There'll be a lot of publicity. What risk do we have here of copycats or some kind of recrimination off of this justice?
Well, there are problems. I mean, you never quite know what the defense is going to raise. You never know if you give the defendant a voice, what he's going to say, if he's going to grandstand. And you never know if this case becomes a token symbol for jihadi groups. Keep in mind that 2 of the 3 most high-profile cases that the jihadis and al-Qaeda use in their propaganda are cases that have been brought in federal criminal court.
Blind Sheikh.
The Blind Sheikh and Afia Siddiqui, in addition to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who's yet to be tried in Guantanamo. But those 2 others are high-profile cases that were brought to trial. These people were sentenced. They're in prison, but they are used as rallying cries by the jihadi groups. And so you always run that risk. It strikes me he's not of that caliber in the movement. He's probably not going to become a banner child for ISIS or al-Qaeda, but it is something you've got to worry about.
Juan, thanks as always.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.